Well, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by filmmaker Sam Fox. It's very good to have you back.
Howdy.
Yes, I love the hat.
I love yours too.
Oh, thank you. Mine's was hand painted by my friend Annabelle, and I have to mention her, or else she'll be very mad.
Wow. Mine's not that special, but it's a cowboy hat, and I'm a cowboy, so
Right. Yeah, actually, when I was looking stuff, I've talked to you before, but I didn't know like you grew up on a farm, animal farm, which is very interesting.
I did. It's a weird little because you hear like Malibu, which is where I was born, and you think like, oh, Corvettes and like the beach and opulence, but we grew up in the Malibu Mountains, which I guess comparatively, the Manson family was in the canyons as well. They were more Topanga Canyon, but it's a very similar vibe of it's where people go to hide. So my dad was I don't know if he was a hippie or a wannabe hippie, or maybe all hippies are wannabe hippies. Because you have to have some money to be a real hippie if you're not going to have a job. Otherwise, you're homeless. So he got this property up in the Malibu Mountains back in the 60s, it must have been, and decided that he wanted to have his own farm. And I think that ended up being, I don't know if it was like ate at his conscience because he liked animals, or maybe it was when my mom moved there that she's like, we're not doing this. And by doing this, I mean eating animals that he had as pets. It's kind of fucked up. So, I grew up there, and it's absolutely stunning, but it's not the best place for children with not a lot of friends around them. It's good for the imagination.
Right. Well, when I first read that, I thought, well, it's weird that you would come from an animal farm and make weird movies. But that story there, I assume they were supportive of you being creative and making things.
Actually, so the reason I make weird movies is I was raised in a very chaotic kind of household with not a lot of parental guidance. And my mom used to, like, my favorite movie when I was 5 was Rosemary's Baby. And yeah. And like, this is so messed up, but I loved Faces of Death. And I was like 5 or 6 because it was before my parents got divorced, and they got divorced when I was 6. So I was watching really dark stuff when other kids were watching like Lion King. And I think between that and like being in this beautiful, I don't know, like place of solitude, the imagination runs wild, and that's kind of all you have up there. And so I'm happy with the way I turned out. I'm happy with the creative inspiration it's given me. But yeah, it was weird times.
Yeah. I grew up watching horror movies too, since my mom is a single mom and my brother's 9 years older. So she'd take him to the drive-in and would just bring him along instead of getting a babysitter or whatever. So I remember seeing all kinds of crazy stuff from a very young age.
I feel like a lot of the people that are in our genre filmmaking have similar stories.
Yeah. Sometimes I know that they didn't discover till later in life because they weren't allowed to watch it. Then they just watched everything.
Right. Yeah. Repression.
Which I always think that's kind of cool too, because it would be fun to watch everything new that you've never seen before.
God, I find it would be like way scarier for some reason. I feel like when you're desensitized to it at such a young age, you don't really know, like you don't know the repercussions of death when you're 6 years old. Right. So it's just cool. And of course there are parts that are scary, but like the guy's head that's cut off, you don't really understand like what that means.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like if I were to watch it when I really did know what it's like to like be walking alone at night and get that predatory vibe, maybe I'd have some trouble watching some of these films.
Sure. Yeah. I always kind of roll my eyes when I see people say like they don't like a horror movie because they weren't scared, but I'm always like, well, I only liked horror movies that scared me. Like I wouldn't have liked anything since I was like 5 or 6. Like Not to be
Right.
a tough guy, but I grew up watching them. Like, I would think most adult people who grew up watching horror movies aren't still like petrified by them.
No, I think having a sense of like you're heightened. You don't necessarily need to be scared, but maybe you could be excited and titillized and grossed out. I think that there's so many different feelings that one would want to evoke watching horror or scary movies.
Yeah, I said this in a before in the show. I think if something evokes any kind of emotional response, that's good, even if it's a negative response.
Oh yeah, pure hate is a great response.
Right.
I love when I read some of the reviews about my stuff and they're just like, this is completely pointless trash. I don't understand why they made this. I'm like, oh yes, thank you so much.
Well, it is better than someone just said, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
the worst response.
Yeah. And I love that, like, I don't know, my stupid 6-minute movie caused you to feel so much anger.
By the way, we should mention that bad acid.
Yeah.
So, for people not aware yet, can you give them an idea of what bad acid is? The movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Bad Acid. It's a 6-minute stupid film about it's kind of a psychedelic foray into the dark side of vanity, narcissism, fitness, kind of all rolled into one. It started as a fashion film, actually, with Candice, who I work with as she does production design on all my films. We're also very good friends, and she styles the films. She makes clothing. She makes these bodysuits, and it's called Animal Crackers, and it's amazing stuff. And it was the beginning of the pandemic, and I was watching these fitness videos, because you had to work out from home. Gyms were closed, and they were just so boring. Like, beige onesies and like hair down and straight. And I wanted like the neon lights and the big hair and the, high socks and the spandex and the neon. And at the same time, she was making like colorful workout gear because she was kind of going through the same thing. And we talked about how we wanted to make an aerobics video together. To put out for people to do aerobics to and do like a high energy just disco track and just do something fun. And I think when we started actually thinking about what this would cost, we're like, this is silly. Let's just make a short film. So it turned into we built a storyline of our main character, Sheila, who is we don't know this, but she was taunted when she was a young girl for being overweight and not cute. And she grows up to be this fitness fanatic narcissist who's just completely obsessed with herself. And every morning she has the same routine. She wakes up, she looks at herself in the mirror, loves and adores herself, puts on a workout video called Aerobisexy Volume 14. Her fitness god, John Flexi, is in it. We don't know. There's a little thing that occurs which could cause this trip that she goes on, or John Flexi's known for mind control. He's kind of like a cult leader in the fitness world. Maybe the two things consecutively happen. When we get to the workout series, maybe we can explore that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just the clothing collection is called Bad Acid. So it was just how far could I push it? And Candice, my partner, was just like all the way.
Yeah.
So
I really had a lot of fun watching it. I'm not just saying that because you're here, but it's fun. I love the colors and it's weird. I like weird things, but all of it works together.
Thank you.
And I like the story that it came out of. You were just going to actually make like a workout video, and then it became this weird film instead.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm not very proficient at is writing. And so I normally come up with an idea and then that idea I'll somehow formulate into something. And my other film is just about a girl who becomes an electric eel and electrocutes her boyfriend.
Which I loved as well.
Yeah. That's Unagi. Yeah. So none of my things are really profound, but I want to make fun pieces of art that are just short and quick and and cause some sort of excitement or joy, or maybe they make you want to dance. I am trying to get more into like my next film, writing some dialogue, because if I'm ever going to go anywhere, I got to prove that I can direct actors talking to each other.
Right. Especially if you would do it works for a 6-minute short, but if you're going to do a feature or something, I assume
yeah,
they probably need to talk.
yeah, and I'm kind of right now more in the experimental kind of midnight category in all the film festivals I've done. So I would like to kind of not go mainstream and not sell out, but do what I do with some casual back and forth.
Well, a good thing lately is there are more platforms for like weirder films. It used to be, what would you do with like an underground movie, once it ran a festival? But now, like with the rise of streaming sites, there's places they could go.
Yeah, and I've been touring, because when I made Unagi, it was during the pandemic, so I didn't even really submit it to any film festivals. And then the film where we met, Wowzers, that was a 37-minute short film.
Yeah, which is really hard to. What do you do with that? Yeah.
Yeah. So as we did actually play, quite a few film festivals, shockingly, with that long of a short. But this is kind of my first time really touring the genre circuit, and it's really cool because we started in July at Fantasia in Quebec. And the last one we did was Film Quest in Utah, Nightmares in Ohio before that. And we're kind of playing alongside a lot of the same films, even if we're not in the same category, it's the same filmmakers. And I'm just noticing that there's so many wild, out there, creative, just completely unique and different ideas that I would never think would be the type of films that would play festivals, because they're so out there. Mm-hmm. And there's genre cinema has just become so big that there's a home for us freaks, and it's so refreshing and beautiful and exciting. And the filmmakers that are coming out of these festivals are really talented. Like, I've just been blown away by the talent I've seen and the creativity.
That was the main thing I missed during the pandemic, was going to the festivals, because you get to see, like you said, all these weird things. And I always get annoyed when people want to argue, genre, like, oh, this is a horror movie, this is sci-fi, whatever. And at the festivals, there's things that some don't even fit into any genre, or they could be multiple genres. And you don't necessarily see that at like the mainstream cinema.
Right. That's actually the category I've been in, is it's so cool. The programmer at Fantasia, who is it's the best programming I've ever seen in my life. Like, the way that she seamlessly tied each short together, one after the next in the order. The program that we played in, which was called The Cavalcade of Perversions, is, as she said, the category for films that don't fit into any category. And and Midnight is kind of a bit like that. Yeah. But I'm seeing that these filmmakers are the type of people that would be the next Jordan Peele, or, doing stuff with XYZ.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk over, but even when I said about not necessarily play mainstream cinema, but really some mainstream horror movies lately have been strange. They have.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like even Smile this year was a very weird movie.
Yeah. And I think he's kind of an alumni of a lot of the film festivals that I've been going to, which is very cool to see. Yeah, especially something to do that well. Times are changing. I'm feeling this shift in the last year where people are so sick of, the Hollywood blockbuster films that have been coming out. And there's these smaller distribution companies, like, A24 kind of set the mold, but now like more and more like Neon and XYZ are doing just so many really different, unique films, like Men, Alex Garland's Men is out there. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, and I always tell people, because they always say like it's only Marvel movies play at the theater, but I go to the theater every week, and I saw Men at the theater, and I saw all kinds of weird stuff. You just have to go out and see them. They're playing. So Wakanda Forever is playing on 10 screens, but there's also some other stuff you might be into.
Yeah, I've noticed with that, you just have to be aware because these things aren't promoted. You're not seeing like the trailers on TV. So if you're just kind of, you follow the socials on Instagram, you can hear about these. I mean, lots of things actually are getting small theatrical, even 1 week theatrical releases. Moon Garden, which just cleaned up at FilmQuest. It's a feature. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, and they played at Nightmares too. It was right before my screening, so I was actually eating during it, and everyone was like, "You made such a huge mistake. You missed the one movie you should
never eat." Yeah.
I know. It's like kind of like an industrial labyrinth, and everyone's been flipping out at it. So they just got distribution through. I think it's Oscillator, and they're going to have a theatrical release. So,
cool.
Yes, it's so great to get to see these films like on a screen.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the best way to see any movie is on the big screen. That's how I would see, any movie. It's always not possible to see everything on the big screen, but that's definitely the way to see it.
Right.
When I was at in London, Terrifier 2 premiered, and then it was only going to play like 3 or 4 days, and it keeps getting extended. It's made, even if people don't like it, because I know a lot of my filmmakers don't like the Terrifier movies. I like them. But I think you have to support that. It's made like over $10 million. I think that's good for all of us who make, some small independent.
You know what? It shows the financiers that our concepts actually can make them money, and maybe to take a risk. Look, they're not all gonna make money. A lot of them are gonna lose it, but at least if they know that in this category of God, like independent. I mean, I feel like independent film, like it really died out for a minute. Because even the indies that were like Fox Searchlight or Focus, like they're still
$1 million movies. Yeah, exactly.
They're not indies, and I don't know. There's this like resurgence that's just been happening. Maybe it's a post-COVID thing. I feel very fortunate that like between that being a woman filmmaker coming up in this time where like we're given so many opportunities that we weren't given, 5-10 years ago. I feel very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing at this time.
So were you doing festivals before Wowzers? Did you ever just go to them as just, as a viewer, or did you really discover the festival world with Wowzers?
I think that was maybe, I went to Santa Barbara Film Festival way back when I was in high school. But other than that, yeah, I wasn't really doing them. And it's funny because even with Wowzers, like up until recently used to be very shy and introverted.
Really? And, I wouldn't have not expected that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to talk to people. And I just felt growing up on a ranch by myself, like you're not exposed to people. So you're kind of like, and I would always just wear something super outlandish so that someone would come up and talk to me. And then I can talk. If you come up and talk to me, I can have a conversation with anyone. But film festivals were always really scary to me because I always just felt like, oh, there's all these filmmakers that I want to talk to. And I can't. I'm so scared. And it wasn't until, I think Palm Springs Short Fest this year where I saw the block. It's like Freaks, Geeks, and Creeps. And I saw 2 films, which blew my mind. And I remember sitting in my chair like, okay, I'm going to go up to the filmmaker. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell him I like it. And I had like this internal battle and I'm just like, fuck it. Like, what's going to happen? And I did it. And I was like, oh, that's not scary at all. Like, what was I freaking out about? And now I'm film festival queen. So.
Yeah, I'm a very awkward guy in person, but it's kind of same. If I talk to you, I'll be fine. But that's why I always tell people at festivals, even if you just go there to watch movies, that's cool. But if you're involved in film at all, there's so many benefits, I think, and everyone's very accepting. Like more the name directors, all the directors are going to talk to you, all the filmmakers, because they're actually there to talk about their love of the genre and talk about their films.
Yeah, I had no idea how fun of a crowd it was, especially starting off at like the ones that I went to in LA are the problem when you live in LA, and most of the filmmakers live in LA, is that you go to the festival with your little crew that's watching the film, and then everyone goes their separate ways. But doing these ones where I'm traveling and you're in, you know, like kind of small contained spaces like Nightmares in Ohio and Film Quest and even Fantasia in Canada, you are forced to build this new family. And I had no idea filmmakers were so fun. I had no idea they partied as hard as they do. Like I knew the actors partied really hard, but and to just be with people and just talk about movies and creativity and also like nonsense. It's been so wonderful. Exhausting, very exhausting.
Yeah.
But
You don't get much sleep, and some of the longer ones you get kind of delirious, like after several days of watching nonstop movies. And
yeah, I mean, I was clocking in at the last few festivals like almost 12 hours a day, like 11 to 11. Mm-hmm. And this is 12 hours a day of genre. So you're really like, you don't know what's up, what's down. You know, is science fiction, science fact. And it's such a sensory overload, all these films. So yeah, I definitely crashed hard, but so inspired. Like I came home and I rewrote a script, and yeah, it's just it's good to see how other people do things, and to also you know, you see these films where you're like, that must have cost $50,000, and then you hear the filmmaker talk and you're like, we did this for $5,000, like asking for favors. And it like reminds you of the permission that you have to be a little bit more daring in your filmmaking, especially like I just did a feature last year where it was we worked it very professionally, but then I'm like hearing about these people like no permits and, you know, trespassing and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot about that. I can do that again.
Yeah. I might know about things like that. Yeah. So badass. When you talk about making something on a small budget, but I think things like the production value, things that add production value, like the colors look very cool. And like things like her room is so filled with things. I like to look around to see like the can of Tab and all these different things. I think some clothes that I've seen you have pictures of were hanging on the wall, and it seems lived in. It doesn't seem like something someone just threw up.
Well, it's funny you say that, because so Candice, who actually we just got the Best Production Design Award at Film Quest. Yeah. I mean, she's just brilliant. No matter what she touches, it turns to gold. So everything basically other than the actual set, like the walls and the furniture, was belonged to Candice. So all the tabs, all the props, the curlers, the clothes is just stuff. She's quite a collector, and it's funny because she's not a production designer. Like she's a fashion designer, and she also she does like interiors, but she has this collection of stuff which is just asking to be used. And so when we kind of came up with this idea of who Sheila was and what her bedroom looked like, we were concerned about the budget, but she's like, I've got everything. So that was really nice, because, you know, sometimes when you're having to buy really cheap stuff or pull from rental houses, it doesn't have that cohesive look. But because this was all hers, it worked. It was. Did
she happen to have a can of Tab? I don't think they sell Tab anymore.
She had the can of Tab. I don't know why, but she's got just so much fun stuff. She collects giant things, so she's got like a giant pencil, a giant box of crayons, a giant hairbrush. Like, and when I say giant, I mean like giant. So.
Well, that could be your next movie about a giant, and then you go into his room and he's got a giant pencil, and yeah.
Right. Well, we're both
a small person, I guess.
Right. Yeah. We're both big fans of Pee-wee's Playhouse, so we've got kind of that. You know, all of the things that we do together are going to be the same type of look and feel, which is so fun. And because she doesn't do production design as her job, she is solely mine. I've told her that she's not allowed to do it for anyone else. So I'm not holding her captive, okay? But I kind of am.
So, when did you start working together? Were you friends before you started making things together?
Yeah, so we were kind of like ravers together on the like disco party scene, and we would always see each other at dance parties, and we always had a mutual appreciation. We both had like similar very short bangs and like short haircut and wild crazy clothing of fun colors. And every time we'd see each other, we would just sit and talk about our inspirations. And we both love like Pedro Almodovar and just fun, wacky, colorful John Waters. And we said, you know, let's do something together. So the first thing we did together was, God, maybe 2018. We did a little promotional video flyer party for a disco party with this guy, Beppe Loda, who's an Italian DJ. And did that together where a girl's eating spaghetti and she gets really excited that this DJ is coming to town. So she takes the spaghetti and puts it all over her giant breasts. And that's about it. And then after that, we did Unagi together at her house. And then Zombie Sex Dream was a music video I did. And then Bad Acid.
I love all those, all three of those. And again, not just because you're here, but Unagi has a lot of cool sound effects, which I think really adds to the weirdness and kind of the fun. It gives it a cartoony feel.
Yeah. So I like to take a lot of part in sound design, creative sound design. I would never want to match a door opening sound effect or like do the Foley stuff. But fortunately, with the kind of experimental stuff that I do, like the weirder, the better. And DJ Harvey Bassett, who's an amazing, incredible DJ. He's the one that did the song in Bad Acid. He did the song Locussolus, Zombie Sex Dream, as well as the songs and sound effects in Unagi. But one of my favorite things was doing the scene where my boyfriend gets electrocuted, because I think I was watching maybe it was Run Silent, Run Deep. I have a great love of submarine films.
Interesting.
And the sound of the submarine when you're like in war and you can hear the submarine get closer and closer, and it's like it's such a eerie sound. And what's so crazy about submarines is that like you can't see anything. So they would have like their little stethoscope thing that they would hold up to the outside of the submarine, and you could hear by the beeps when the enemy was getting closer. And I just found that sound effect just gets you on the edge of your seat. And then I started exploring with like, well, what other ocean sounds? And I was like, oh my God, otters make the best, weirdest, disturbing sound known to man. And so I'm like, okay, let's get some otters in there. And then I'm like, okay, we need some dolphins. We need some waves crashing. We need some seagulls. And so I gave all the sound files to Brooks, who was the editor on that. And I'm like, I just want all of these together at the same time. And that I just love that so much, because it's very weird and different and kind of unhinged.
Mm-hmm. No, I loved it. It to me, because it kind of a cartoony feel, and I like even better when it's got the layers of all these weird sounds.
Yeah.
I also like at the end, which is a nice message. It talks about the environment, but I don't know if the film necessarily is doing that or not. But I like that it's just added there. It's like, oh yeah, this has a message to it.
Okay, so actually, it's so funny because everyone thinks, I guess when they see my stuff, they think that like it's just me having fun, which it is. But Unagi was inspired by I do feel I identify as an eel for some reason. I have no idea why that part. But the other reason that inspired it is that I was having I was at a Japanese restaurant having a sushi dinner, and it was one of those restaurants where like the TV is kind of above the sushi bar. And that was when the earthquake happened and the Fukushima power plant kind of leaked into the ocean. And I remember sitting there just in this, like, I mean, it was a really awful feeling of like, is this the end of the world? And I'm sitting here like eating sushi. And then then I thought about the fish I'm eating, and I'm like, oh my God, is this going to like irradiate all our fish? So the start of the film is that this girl, my character, Ellen, eats a piece of irradiated sushi that's been irradiated from Fukushima. And although that's not really explained, because I don't feel like handing things to people on a silver
no, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is the result of climate change is that she turns into this sea monster. It's body horror, and kills the one guy who loves and cares for her. So it does have meaning.
Yeah, no, I I didn't want to be insulting, but but I do like the idea that you don't want to, like hand feed people what something is about. Otherwise, then you're just kind of preaching to people.
Right. And it's not I like to take, I would say my style is like Monty Python meets Twilight Zone. So like in Monty Python, it's, the British way. And I grew up, my mom's British and my sister and my grandma. So I grew up in a very British household where you have to laugh in the face of adversity because the reality is just too painful. And so that absurdity of Monty Python in the skits that they do is, poking fun of that. And then the Twilight Zone is that kind of sci-fi aspect of, we're living in very strange times. How can we push it a little further? So I like to take both of those two things and kind of combine them with the sci-fi aspect of like, shit's crazy in the world. And let's just laugh at it because God, if I get too worked up about it, I'm not having a good day.
Both of them are similar though. Like you're saying, you could enjoy both of them just on the surface level. But both of them are talking about, social commentary. Right.
And so I'm trying to do that in a way where I'm not trying to do it at all, but it is, it does have a point.
Mm-hmm. Which, side note, I always think is funny. People have argued with me on social media that like modern Star Trek and the new Twilight Zone, like they didn't like it because it was all about social like commentary. I'm like, have you ever even watched the original shows? That's like the whole point.
Yeah. Right. People just like to have an opinion on everything these days.
Mm-hmm. And the music obviously adds a lot to all of them. So does DJ Harvey do the music before, or does he watch them and create the music to match?
So the last one, Bad Acid, he actually did it before. I kind of told him, I'm like, look, I need it to be energetic. So he did. I think that's why I wanted it before, because I was choreographing it. Alex Nell, who was my creative producer, and she choreographed it and also was one of the editors and is a collaborator of mine. So we took the track and she choreographed the little routine to it. So we needed that one before, but with the other ones, I always was like, I want you to watch this and then kind of create music to it. And he's just like, no. I forget. I think he said like James Brown, like when he did his movie soundtrack, didn't watch the footage. He just did it. And I'm like, well, like I'm the director, so you're going to do what I say. And there was a little bit of a battle there. But I think what I just did is I told him the vibe. So I'm like, okay, for, Unagi, when she's got these electrodes on her head and she's getting electricity coursing through her body, I want something that's kind of like synth analog that sounds like electricity, like the sound you think electricity would make on a synth. And then he's such a genius when it comes to music, so he just takes that and builds on it. And very fortunate to have him do the scores.
Yeah, it adds a lot, or they enhance each other.
Yeah,
the music plays off what you're watching, and what you're watching plays with the music. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, for me, like that director and music combination is so, like, it started with Angelo Badalamenti and David Lynch and like Paul Thomas Anderson and Johnny Greenwood. Like when you find your composer that does something that's just so outside the box, but exactly what your film needs, that is some beautiful magic. And so that's something that I always want to have in my films, is like a really unique, different, amazing score. That's very important to me.
What kind of, you mentioned Lynch there, and earlier you said Faces of Death, which is completely different than like things I would assume you're into. So what kind of movies like do you like, or made you want to make films?
So yeah, it was basically, it started with Rosemary's Baby, and it was, what's so messed up is it was actually the rape scene in Rosemary's Baby, because obviously I don't know it's a rape scene, but I'm like, there's this monster and there's these colors, and like I was in love with Mia Farrow, and that to me was like, wow, this is so cool. And then so that was like that, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane were like two of my favorites when I was really, really young. And then once I got into middle school, I discovered Clockwork Orange, and that just blew my mind. And that's when I like dove really deep into Kubrick. And it almost made me not want to make movies, because I'm like, this is so good. How can I ever achieve anything even close to this? And so I think what it did, like, it dissuaded me, because I am a bit of a perfectionist, and I was like, what am I going to do? So then I found, which was kind of the great thing, found the giallo and got really into Argento. And I was like, oh, wait, there's this kind of like super visual B movie type genre, which I think I could fit into, because, my concepts are a bit more on the silly side, and are not as, perfectly articulate. I mean, I'm never going to do 100 takes of anything. Okay. I don't have the wherewithal, don't have the money, but yeah, when I saw like Suspiria and Tenebrae, Blood and Black Lace, that really kind of drew me, and De Palma too, into like, okay, these like saturated colors, like telling a story through lights, telling something that's kind of camp, but also a little bit scary and a little bit sexy and raunchy and sleazy. So that's kind of where I fell into the style that I do now.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, and definitely the colors come out of there. Not just to repeat what you said, but yeah, everything that you said there. Yeah. How about casting Bad Acid? Because everyone in it's very funny.
Yeah, that was kind of amazing, because literally every person that we approached was the first person we approached. And this is the beauty of social media, is these people have these social media presence, which you might just fall in love with and be a fan of. And Candice had worked with, so Candice and I executive produced Bad Acid together. Whereas before, she worked with me as a production designer, and I EP'd and produced this one. We built from the ground up together. So she'd worked with Kate Hollowell, who is Sheila, our heroine, and she has a band which is called Number One Pop Star, which, if you haven't heard of it, you need to check out everything. The music's great, but she's also a comedic genius and is completely fearless. I wish I had her guts. But so Candice was like, I think she would be a great Sheila. We watched her stuff. I'm like, she's perfect. She loved the script. She's like, this is basically me. And then Bonavega, we saw, who plays John Flexi. He's also another personality. He's a musician and is always in a Speedo and is like super fit, always wearing makeup and heels and shreds on the guitar insanely. And we're like, oh, he's like a fitness god. He's always completely naked, basically flexing. So he's perfect. And then we reached out to Kate looking for two dancers, because she used to be on a dance squad, an LA dance squad. And she recommended Willie, who plays Tracy. And she's a doula, so this was fun for her to do compared to her normal job of helping deliver babies. And then Kaylee found through I just put up an ad on Instagram, and she responded, and I loved her look, and she's a great dancer. And it was very easy.
Yeah,
Fortunately.
everyone nailed it, and they all kind of like you're saying about the room. They definitely blend together. Like none of them seem out of place.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about having something with that's very movement based and not a lot of dialogue is the casting process was more about I just wanted to like I wanted people that were fearless, and if I told them to get really fucking weird, they weren't like nervous about it or like holding back. Like first take, they gave me, level 12 out of 10. So that was what was so nice about it. Like I didn't have to say to them, like, I need more, they gave me more right away.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want to make people uncomfortable. So if they're into it, adds it adds all around.
Yes, and I'm the type of person who would definitely, I like to push the boundaries. So if you're someone that gets uncomfortable easily, we're not going to do well together.
Right. So you mentioned earlier workout series. So will there be more in the Bad Acid world?
If someone wants to fund that, I will gladly make them more in a second. It was so much fun to film. Like literally, everyone was just dancing, having the best time ever. And it was we had like, I think 36 shots. Like we shot that all in one day. It was a jam-packed day, but we were just, and then we finished on time, under 12 hours. But it was such a joy. And I mean, at one point I had the director's chair and I actually fell backwards out of it because I was just laughing so hard at like the stuff that was coming my way. So yeah, I think that the workout industry needs it. I mean, I know that we're not working out from home as much, but there are still some people that are. And if anyone's listening out there, I can do it for not too much money and I can make it look really good. So I'm here.
Yeah, I would watch that. I think that would be fun.
Would you work out to it though?
Well, I mean, I actually right behind here is I have some stuff, but I walk a lot. I do a lot of cardio. You probably don't know this, but I've lost about half my body weight in the last few years.
Yeah, I can tell. But yeah, I think you'd look great in a spandex onesie. So
I don't know about that, but
never say never.
maybe we'll. I mean, if it's something cool like that was in the movie, maybe we'll think about it.
Of course.
Yeah. I'll throw Without Your Head logo on it.
Yeah, there we go. Branding and marketing.
Yeah. So, where does I mentioned, there's more platforms now, but you played a lot of festivals. Where does Bad Acid go after the festivals?
So we're still waiting on hearing from, I mean, God, if I got into Slam Dance or South by Southwest, I would freaking die. So I'm holding out for those. We're playing Monster Fest in Australia in December, Phenomena in Sao Paulo in also December, both of which, I mean, that's the problem. These out of the country ones with how expensive flights are, they're just really hard. So I still there's a few that I never know how my stuff is going to be accepted because I feel like it is so unprogrammable. So I didn't submit to, there's a lot of film festivals that I didn't submit to that now I'm going to try and submit to next year, seeing that like the film's done, like it's won some awards, it's played in incredible festivals. So like, I'd love to, I haven't been to England in 3 years. I'd love to go to either Grimfest or Fright Fest. Okay. I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to La Tranche in France. There's a couple others like Calgary Underground. I'd love to play Brooklyn Horror somewhere in New York. I've only done Tribeca as a producer, but I've never had as a director played New York. Cucalora. So I still have hopefully like another 8 months that I'd like to do film fests. And then I met the gals at Altar and Dust at FilmQuest. So hopefully approach them and see if they'd like to put it up there.
Yeah. I saw that you played in Italy because my movie was playing there too, and I did look up flights there. I was tempted to go, but it was like you said, especially if you do a lot of them, because I did Fright Fest of London. There's only a limited number you could do if you're doing overseas ones.
I mean, even like here, my flights to I think Ohio were like $500, and then
It was weird. I think it was more for me to fly to Ohio than it was across the country. So.
it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, one that I was really bummed to miss was Motel X in Lisbon because it's the same programmer that did Fantasia and Celia, and I'm such a fan, and I know that she programmed a lot of the same films. So hopefully it would be nice to have them all line up too, because then it would be
right. Yeah.
But of course they're staggered. So we shall see. Hopefully things chill out with the gas prices and I can get an out of the
somehow country. I got lucky flying to, but I'm also Massachusetts. So really me flying to London is the same as flying to LA for me.
That is bad.
But yeah, it was not expensive to fly to London, but it was very expensive to fly to Italy.
Yeah. Wait, it was the Be Afraid. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, Be Afraid, which had a really cool poster.
Yeah, it did.
Cool awards. Oh, by the way, where is your Fright Fest? I mean, not Fright Fest, Nightmares Awards.
It's in, so
you don't have to get it. I was just wondering where.
No, so I got my first award was actually best film it was Sick and Wrong, and now it's
I know Steven Stool who runs that.
Yeah, so it was for Wowzers. We won best film, and I have a tentacle with the panties hanging off, and it used to always sit on top of my toilet, and then I just recently moved, so it's got a new place in my bathroom is where I have all my movie posters. So that award was there, and then I got the Nightmares one, and I'm like, ooh, like a little horse to go next to my tentacle with underpants. And then the Film Quest one came, which sadly I have to give to my production to Candice for production design. Sure. Yeah. But I haven't seen her yet, so it's sitting there too. I've got three awards in the bathroom, and I look at them every day and feel gratitude and joy.
Yeah, I'm going to use that clip. I have a tentacle with panties. I'm going to use it out of context.
I mean, it's a brilliant trophy. It really is.
Yeah. He renamed it Bizarro Land, which is great, but I do kind of think Sick and Wrong was a cool name. But apparently he was getting stuff that were sick and wrong, I guess. I don't know. Or more sick and wrong than he.
I mean, it makes for such a great story. I think that there should be some sort of documentary on that. Yeah.
So, he still has the same trophy, so.
Yeah, okay, perfect. That's good.
Yeah. So blood is thicker than vodka. I was watching the video on your Facebook earlier, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so this is something that's really, really special and near and dear to my heart. So my mom, I think I kind of touched on it a bit, that I grew up in chaos. My mom was a really bad drug addict and alcoholic for, I don't know, she's been sober 20 years. So I think until she was 45, until I was 14. And she's been sober 20 years. She now runs treatment programs at rehab centers. She has had one of those lives where the odds were so stacked against her. It's like how she is still alive is incredible. And the fact that not only is she still alive, that she managed to get sober. It took her 12 years, multiple DUIs, jail, arrests, many near-death experiences. And she, people in the AA meetings say, like, if Janine got sober, anyone can. So everyone's always told her that she needs to write her memoir. And she always kind of said, like, I can't write. And my sister's actually an English teacher, and my sister kind of as an olive branch to repair the broken relationship that they had said, I will help you write your memoir. And they sat down, and it took them 10 years to write it together. But they wrote it together, and then it took another few years of trying to get it published. And it finally got published this year. I helped design the cover. So it's this really cool family piece of us coming together to create something to give back to the community, to hopefully inspire families. Like, no matter how far down you go, you can come back and you can get your family back. And my goal is, because it's so visual, like she started in England, she went to Malibu in the 80s, Palm Springs, cocaine, opulence, fast cars. My dad was a race car driver. it's a very visual piece. So I'm trying to turn it, I wrote like a Bible. I'm trying to turn it into a mini series because it's a lot of life. So it's more than a movie. It's maybe like a 6 to 8 episode mini series. And finding someone, you know, like a Showtime or someone that does some, it's dark comedy, but it's definitely a drama. So someone that can balance that out and has the budget, because it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah. Well, I like to hear about that, and congratulations to her.
Thank you.
Yeah. This March will be 4 years since I drank, so never. Yeah. So that was a big problem going to the festivals. I didn't know if I'd fit in anymore, but
right, because
people don't care, you know.
Yeah, and look, I think it's more important that, you know, this decision. I'm sure that it was an important decision for you, and that's better than drinking and having a wild time at the festival.
The only thing that affects is karaoke. I'll say sober karaoke is not a good time.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I have to have a lot I'm tone deaf, so I have to have a lot to drink to expose myself to that.
Yeah. And I like the mix. You said a dark comedy. I think that's always been helpful to me. And I think, you know, to have comedy in something that's serious, it helps you cope with it.
Yeah, because she's British. I want to bring in a lot of that, like, British dark comedy of, like I said, laughing and in the face of like really, really dark stuff. But also, you know, there is so much comedy in the situations that she ended up in, because they're absolutely insane, and how she got out of them. So it is really funny. And I feel like with the right actors and like really good writing, it has the potential to be incredible. There's a Benedict Cumberbatch was in a show called Patrick Melrose on Showtime, and it kind of followed a similar kind of arc and storyline. And so that's kind of, and it's dark comedy as well. That's kind of what I'm modeling it on.
Well, I'm interested to see where that goes, and good luck with that.
I shall keep you posted.
All right. And so what's next for Foxy Films currently? I know you got Badass at playing festivals here for a while.
Yeah, but now I'm kind of on that festival high, and I'm like, all right, I got to get back in the saddle.
Right.
I met another filmmaker who I toured Unagi with him last 2 years ago. We met through that, and then we've been going to all the same festivals. His name's Joe Badon, and he did
I love Joe Badon. His new short was awesome.
It's so good. So I kind of we reconnected over that, and I was just like, I love your films. He's like, I love your films. And found out that he's at New Orleans based, that you can make movies for way cheaper than you can in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I rehashed a script that I wrote a few years ago, and I'm going to try and help me produce it there and find some locations for me and crew, so that I can do like a $30,000 movie for $7,000. I hope.
A lot better.
Just because I fund these things myself, and you know, I'm running out of financing, so gonna try and do that. I have a manager. I'm gonna try and get an agent. I really want to get into commercial directing, especially as a way to fund my own productions. I also just think my quick kind of, you know, visual, like 30 seconds is a good thing for me. I think I can do that successfully, and I'm creative producing a feature with Ace Thor, who wrote with Wowzers with me and directed Wowzers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're teamed up. The Wowzers team is coming back. He's got this amazing script.
Oh yeah, he was on the show when I thought.
Yeah. So he's got this incredible script called Fountain Square, which is like a surreal mystery thriller set in Indiana. We're in the process of raising, you know, just under $2 million for our budget, bringing it to distributors. We just shot a sizzle for it, but it's such a strong script that I do not have any qualms about us raising the money to get it made, and that should be happening next year. And then my little collaborators, we have a thing called Great Grandma. It's a film collective with Alex Nell, Britt Lauer, and Desiree Staples, who we've all been working on each other's projects. So Alex Nell's project is called Malocchio, and it's kind of a twisted fantasy we're doing a proof of concept short, which I'm creative producing. So there's lots going on.
Yeah, very cool. And the music video you directed, I think, is awesome. I actually sent it to my friend Annabelle last night. She's at work, so she hasn't watched it yet. But I'm a big fan of it, and I think people should check it out.
Thank you. Yeah. If you're a cool band and you need a music video, I'll make you a music video too. I'd like to get, I'd like to do, I love producing, but directing is where my real passion is. So, really like to try and delve more into some directing work.
Yeah. I see you do a lot of acting too, but that would be for you, like, the most fulfilling creative outlet is directing.
I'm actually retired from acting.
Oh, okay. Huh?
People try and get me to do stuff. Sometimes I will do stuff for friends, but for me, it's only like I was acting in the other stuff because I was too scared to direct other actors until I thought I knew what I was doing. And Badass, it was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. And then I could never. I like looking at the monitor. I do not like splitting my time between in front of and behind the camera. So I am strictly behind the camera now. And that's where I like to be. I don't like to remember lines and deal with the makeup and the fixing of the hair and the wardrobe.
I understand. Yeah. I've done a few I'm not good at remembering lines either. That's why I just make stuff up.
Yeah, it's fun when you can have fun with it, but when you have to like really learn and sit down, and done with that.
All right. So where can people follow you? Not to your home there, but I want to see what you're up to.
My personal address is so personal Instagram is at the other Sam Fox, because there is the Sam Fox who is stealing all my Google space. And the search engine, but she's cool. We like her. So I'm at the other Sam Fox, and then film stuff is at Sam Foxy Films, FOXY. Website is samfoxyfilms.com, and pretty much mainly through the Instagram is when I post a lot of updates about film festivals. I'm not as good as updating the website, but yeah, socials, Instagram is you can stay up to date.
All right, very cool. Well, this is very good to catch up with you. We should do it again.
Yes, of course. You know where to find me.
All right. Yeah, I just found out Instagram and yeah.
All right. Yeah, we can wear our hats again.
Yeah, definitely. I might wear a different hat next time. We'll find
Me
out.
too.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Run it up, 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 run it up.